determines the war today? The direct attack of the vital centers of an enemy.
Well, there's a reason for this lofty calm. It's the bliss of ignorance.
Winning isn't everything, but it's the only thing. In our business, there is no second place. Either you're first or you're last.
And then, if I may use a word which we use in Wisconsin, unless we have the guts to men, who should be taken down from those watchtowers and should not be representing the American people.
Good evening and welcome to Little White Courthouse, a Sons of Wisconsin production. Here, we aim to celebrate and promote the culture of the souls of men of Wisconsin. I am your host for this program, Ian Alexander, the Last Paladin. We are graced this evening by Daniel, the president of Sons of Wisconsin. Daniel, good evening.
Good evening. Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Daniel, to what you want to share, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm a 5th generation son of Wisconsin, an 11th generation American. My background is in music, and I'm just happy to be here.
We are happy to have you, Daniel. Thank you very much for coming. This has been a production we've tried a long time. We got to be able to stream in October of last year, and we kind of put some more work into it, some more infrastructure into it, and this is going to be something really special. I hope this comes to, if you're listening to this, I hope this is a blessing to you. This episode is going to be very special in a sense that it's going to be very much an introduction to Sons of Wisconsin. We are associated with Old Glory Club, so if any Wisconsin people out there is fans of some of their content or people who are members and you've Googled and looked into us, think of this as our introduction. So thank you for finding us and thank you for clicking on us. I'll do a brief introduction of myself. I am we could say, a mixed son of Wisconsin in the sense that on one side of my family, she's been here, good golly, it may be the same as you, Daniel, 5 generations. But on the other end, I come from my other parents' end, I come from the East Coast, and have been there since before the founding. So grown up in Wisconsin my whole life, have moved a little bit for work, but came back here. Background is in technology. So, Daniel, without further ado, what is Sons of Wisconsin?
Sons of Wisconsin is an independent chapter of the Old Glory Club. We're a fraternity that is concerned with building those bonds of brotherhood through 4 principal means. Firstly, mutual aid. We are there for each other through thick and thin. If a brother needs something, we provide it, whether that's monetary aid or something as mundane as moving boxes. We're also a civic organization. We provide civic aid to our community if necessary, whether that be working in soup kitchens, volunteering at whatever local civic function. And we also provide learning and knowledge to our community through highlighting Wisconsin's rich historical and natural history. We also provide socialization. And in our nascent stage, that's a lot of what we do, just getting to know each other, going out for a beer after work, hanging out, things like that. And then finally, physical activity, whether that's holding each other accountable for weightlifting or exercise, or getting involved in more organized physical activity together. But those are the four fundamental aspects of what we believe building the bonds of fraternity look like and what we do on a day-to-day basis. But what's the point of Sons of Wisconsin as a whole? It's to build a better future. We believe that building those bonds of fraternity now will lay the groundwork for a better tomorrow. By promoting the past, the heritage of our fathers, we can provide something tangible for our sons. And that's really fundamentally what we're all about.
So would it be fair to say, in a sense, where in a world kind of where many are deracinated, where there's no connection, where maybe because of work you're moving a lot or you moved away, we're kind of an element where we want to introduce another sphere of help you can get, kind of like a church, but not on the theological realm. Would that be fair?
Yeah, absolutely. We use that word community, but we're so disconnected from our communities these days. Some of that's just by force of the way that our cities, our suburbs are built, that we don't have that easy access to our neighbors anymore. And some of it's just by the way that our society, unfortunately, is designed today, that we don't have the ability to socialize in the ways that our grandparents did, whether it's because we're stuck in an office all day or we're stuck in our homes. It's unfortunate, but the goal of this fraternity is, yes, to build those bonds so that we can have that community, especially in this day and age. It's funny you mentioned church, that so many men are feeling persecuted even on that front, or struggling to find a church community, or even if they find one that's good on paper, it might be devoid of uh, men their age. So it's important for us to have those bonds of brotherhood in whatever way we can achieve them. But to that point, that our Sons of Wisconsin is deliberately a Christian organization. That's not necessarily required with the OGC as a whole, but we in the Sons of Wisconsin have elected and believe that a fundamental part of being a Son of Wisconsin is that Christian heritage.
What, so kind of unpack that a little bit, Daniel. Why is that specifically important? Because, like you said, some other OJC, Old Glory Club members don't require orgs require that. Why here in Sons of Wisconsin do we believe that that's an adamant requirement?
Yeah, well, part of being an American is understanding that this country was founded upon Christian principles. And even taking that a step further, was founded by Christians. This was a Christian nation in that regard. And so Wisconsin was no exception. Wisconsin was discovered, and settled by Christian people. It's part of our heritage, and we cherish that. And so that's one of the reasons why that's a requirement. But also because we believe to really build those bonds of brotherhood, you have to be of one faith with your brothers. Obviously, we would prefer to be of one creedal faith, but these strange and latter times, we have to band together where we can. So that's what we've decided.
Yep. I mean, we're in an age that's beyond kind of just denial of the Trinity. So if there's an element of purely the Nicene Creed that a Christian would espouse to, we'd welcome them into here. So here's a question then, Daniel. When it comes to the men we're looking for, we have the Christian part down, and I think you would want them heavily involved in their church, correct? Like maybe they're in between churches, but are you able to be a member if, say, you do house church or you're a Christian but you just watch pastor streams on the internet?
Definitely not if you watch pastor streams on the internet. That does not count as church. House church, I'd have to know more about the context of, how and why that is the case. Obviously, we'll take every man on a case by case basis. You're not going to write anyone off before knowing their whole story, but we do want men that are involved in their church community
Mhm.
in one way or another. And part of being an exceptional man, to get to the heart of your question of what we're looking for in men here in Sons of Wisconsin, part of being an exceptional man is knowing who you are and having those firm convictions and commitments. And to me and to the Sons of Wisconsin, there's nothing more fundamental to the character of man than his religion. And if you don't have that figured out, it's hard to believe that you're going to have the lesser things figured out.
I like it. I like it. So we talk about exceptional men, right? And so I'm not going to belittle anyone that goes to my church, but um, what else beyond, as you could say, respect for the church, I think is what you're trying to look for. Beyond that, what other kinds of men are we looking for?
Yeah, some people throw around the word elite in our circles, and that comes with its own baggage, and you have thoughts of aristocracy and things like that. I prefer the term exceptional, and that doesn't mean that you have to be the most exceptional man to be a son of Wisconsin. What we're really looking for is men who strive to be exceptional, who want to be exceptional, even if they have the humility and self reflection to recognize that they're not there yet. Part of our organization is geared toward making men exceptional and building each other up to be exceptional through the encouragement of mutual excellence. And so we're looking for men who have a broad enough vision that they recognize that there's something lacking in the way our society is right now, and that they want to move towards something better.
So, as part of obligations that I've undergone for Sons of Wisconsin, I get to meet new recruits. And what's interesting is, and you may have a story similar to this, Daniel, but we all describe we're one of two things, where we were former libertarians or we were former kind of neocons. And then 2020 COVID happened, and now we've all, not to make this political, but what we've seen is society isn't right. There's something wrong with society, and a lot of us has kind of shifted. I know for me, that's when I got way more serious into church, and way more serious into finding a wife, because I knew those things were important for community. But when it comes to, like you said, what we're looking for in your I like using the term elite, but because that means that you and me, Daniel, get to be elites, which I know we can have that debate another day. But the element, like you said, is looking for is, you understand there's something wrong with the how society is, and if you're interested in, I like to think of it, and you can correct me correct me if you have a different way of looking at this, Daniel. I like to think of it as, we're hoping to offer a sphere from what modern day society is kind of tearing down. Like you said, we're a community that if you need help, a great example is, this community used to be founded if you got canceled, like say from your job because you maybe said women shouldn't be pastors. We would look for a new church for you, or look for a new place to work. And this is kind of what we're hoping, is that if you're being persecuted by the modern day mainstream religion, we're a place that can help you. Do you concur with all that, Daniel?
Yeah, absolutely. Although I guess if I was going to take exception with anything you said, it would be, what they're tearing down. But it's torn down. It's we're living in the ashes, and so part of what we're doing here is building it back up.
Yes.
And some people might view that as LARPing, um, you know, but you look at what our grandfathers achieved and did not 100 years ago, and you compare that to what you see around you today, and you don't need a lot of fine learning or theory cell to come to the conclusion that something is amiss. So part of what we're trying to achieve is being the change that we want to see in the world. And if other people think that looks like LARPing, then I'm sorry for them. But we're going to do what we think is best for the future. And some of that means reclaiming the things that have been lost, but it also means forging a new path forward. So we're not just trying to be stuck in the past, we're trying to build something for the future.
I like it. I like it. This is also kind of to do a little promotion of the stream. This mission of the stream is to, as you bring up, Daniel, more the teaching aspect of what we're hoping to accomplish. So we talk about great men and looking for great men. I may have repeated this, but beyond what's like an attribute of a great man? What should we be aspiring to, or what should we be looking for as a brethren of the tundra here in Wisconsin for this group?
We should be looking for, to reiterate what I said, men who are striving for excellence. What does that mean? I liked your own testimony, Ian, that you recognized that you had to make a change in your own life. You had to find a wife, you had to find a church. It means a man is willing to take ownership and make proactive steps to improve himself. Because there's no improving your community and much less your nation or world without first changing yourself. And personally, I find a lot of men in our spheres miss that point. We tend to be so outwardly focused on all the problems that are around us that we ignore the biggest problem that we can fix, which is within. And that's something that I think also pairs nicely with our expectation that an exceptional man will be a Christian man in the Sons of Wisconsin, because the Christian faith emphasizes that need for internal change and personal agency in that regard, which of course only comes through the power and working of the Holy Spirit. But after that regeneration, we need to make use of the gifts he provides and build ourselves into something better. Firstly, to be that temple of the Holy Spirit in a fitting way. And when we do that, we'll then equip ourselves to help others. It's sort of like, and this just came to my mind because I just got back from a long flight. But, when the flight attendants are doing the whole spiel and they say, if the mask drops, first put the mask on yourself before you worry about putting the mask on the person next to you. And it's really a great piece of advice for our own context. An exceptional man will first take steps toward improving himself before he spends his day writing screeds about the problems of others. How will an exceptional man improve himself? Body and soul. That means you're not going to be a slob, first of all. If you're massively overweight, that doesn't mean you can't be a son of Wisconsin, but you're going to be taking steps to improve it. You're not going to have greasy hair and tattered clothing, right? Even the poor 100 years ago would not have been caught dead in public the way that most so-called elites in our day dress. It's not hard to go to a thrift store and find clothing that makes you look presentable. So there are easy, simple ways to engage in personal excellence on the physical level. But achieving that on the spiritual level, that's a lifelong process. But some of that comes through a commitment to learning and bettering oneself. In our own circles, we have several excellent resources to improve one's mental faculties through listening to various podcasts and intellectual thought leaders in our circles. If nothing else, if you're not going to be if you're not feeling at least competent to take, personal steps to be an autodidact, at least parrot what you're hearing from the men in our spheres. That's a very fundamental first step toward excellence, right? And then, though, actually taking the time to read the books for yourself and read the information, go to the primary sources. Don't just take the word for it of some e-celeb, which I fear can tend to be a problem in some of our circles too. We're not trying to be a fad here. We're not a fly-by-night. This is a long-term investment, which requires long-term skills and long-term foundation. So, yeah.
I'm fairly certain it was Confucius who said, "Act as if you were a sage, and become a sage you will." In the West, we adopt the saying, "Fake it till you make it."
Yes.
But I want to make it a little bit more sophisticated, Daniel. What you just say to me is show that you're serious. And what I mean by that is, like you said, if you're serious about certain things like how you look, how you present yourself, are you professional? There's means to do this that won't break your wallet, but it might not be the nicest things, but it shows us that you're serious, right? Same with fitness, as you brought up, baby steps. And as someone who used to be very fat, um, baby steps are what get you there. And so what you've described is what we're looking for is someone who is serious. Now, like you said, if you're overweight, if you don't have clothing, if you don't have a job yet, you're not a professional yet, we can help you. As you said, we are to be an outlet to help you. With that, I kind of want to pivot. What are we not, Daniel? So, what kind of mindset, if you're looking for a group that does X, Y, or Z, what is the X, Y, or Z that Sons of Wisconsin does not do?
Well, first and foremost, we're not a political action group. If you're looking for someone to help you get into Congress or a bunch of guys to get on a local school board or something like that, that's not the point of our organization. That's not to say you can't be interested in doing that and be a member, but that's not what our group is for. We're not going to support that kind of activity. We're also not a prepper organization. We're not black pillars. We're not sitting around, woe is me, everything's about to go to crap, so I'm going to just sit here and stockpile and wait for the end. That's not to say that the end isn't coming, but we're building for a future that we hope is coming. In theological circles, it says we should live our lives as if Christ is returning today, but also as if he's not returning for 1,000 years, right? And so there's an element where you need to be prepared, but that's just part of being a man of excellence, right? If your whole life is focused on, the bombs might fall tomorrow, then this isn't the organization that you're looking for if you think that that's what we're going to help you do. And we're also not some kind of militia group, or we're not. We are a legally organized and chartered corporation in the state of Wisconsin. We intend to abide all laws and so forth. So you won't find us involved in those kind of groups either.
So before it got a bad rep, Gentlemen's Club used to mean something else, and so maybe this is how I kind of try to describe Sons of Wisconsin is we are an old school gentleman's club kind of fused with Rotary Club. We care about communities and our heritage. We do a lot of things about the history of Wisconsin or the history of America, but we're also more than just we do more than kind of just community work or doing a local bake sale for your area. Does that kind of hit it on the head, Daniel?
Yeah, it absolutely does. I can give you some examples of things we did last year that fit into some of these different aspects. For example, we hosted a civic event at a Memorial Day observance, and we're able to network with veterans and politicians in our community and put a bright foot forward in that sort of civic sphere. But like you said, we also host historical events. We went to the site of the discovery of Milwaukee in downtown Milwaukee and toured several different historical sites along the Milwaukee Riverwalk. We also go to our natural history sites, several state parks for hiking and outdoor recreational activity, in addition to the socializing that I mentioned. So even in our founding year last year, we were trying to embody these things that we're talking about, and we can take that to the next level in the year ahead, hopefully by having more men who want to strive for excellence join us in this endeavor.
All right. So yeah. So what's on the docket coming up? Some things that you like to share. What's some like short-term things that Sons of Wisconsin seeks to do? What is some, we'll call it long-term hopes that we're looking to do for the Sons of Wisconsin org?
The biggest thing we're doing right now is growing, and that's involving a lot of legwork for our first year guys in meeting with and vetting men from around the state. Unfortunately, at the moment, the majority of us are in, well, maybe not unfortunately, but as the case is, most of us are in the Milwaukee area. So it requires a lot of time and effort on our part to try to meet up with men from around the state and network with them too. That's one of our biggest goals at the moment, is to establish the kind of fraternity we've been experiencing here in the Milwaukee area for men in the other parts of our great state. And so what we have planned throughout the year are several different events staggered throughout the different regions of Wisconsin to hopefully not only provide us from the Southeast with more knowledge about those regions, but also provide opportunities for prospects in those areas to join us. I'd say that's the crux of our vision for the current year. Moving well into the future, our hope is that we're going to have established basically sub chapters, if you will, in every municipality in the state. You mentioned like a Rotary Club or a Lions Club. That's what we envision ourselves being. You know, we don't want to be confined to just Milwaukee or just Madison. We want this to be something that is accessible for men no matter where they find themselves in the great state of Wisconsin. So that's our long-term vision.
Exceptional. And kind of on this end for this podcast, I also want to work to this because, like you said, a lot of the guys were very concentrated in Milwaukee, and then a lot of guys are kind of spread out. So I also want to use to jump off of the connection. I'm hoping that this podcast, if you're listening to this, is something that can connect us to you listening to this. Some of you that we talk to are just merely on our messages, and we want to aim to be in person because that's one big promotion that we do in Sons of Wisconsin and Old Glory Club is we connect in person. Is that correct, Daniel? Why is that important?
Yeah, this is not an online organization. You can't build bonds of fraternity in the way that we're trying to over the internet. You can't engage in physical activity together over the internet. You can't explore historical sites together over the internet. I suppose you can provide mutual aid, but what true socialization and fraternity is occurring if the only contact you have with each other is over a chat message? So we fundamentally believe as Christians in the incarnation. We're an incarnational religion. We believe in the sanctification of the body, and it's important for us to engage in embodied activities together. Our hope is that we can basically at some point ignore, not fully, but not have to be with the Telegram or whatever chat we have on the phone 24/7 to be engaged with each other, but that we'll just have long-standing plans to meet together in person in our local communities, and that we in Milwaukee are not going to be micromanaging what guys in Wausau are doing, but that they'll be meeting together in their local communities too, and we'll all get together at scheduled chapter-wide events throughout the year, exploring different parts of the state together as we're able.
So great. So like you said, and it's reflected very much in your plans of kind of having your little societal, communal Sons of Wisconsin, not chapters, but what would be a better term for it, Daniel? Like smaller orgs,
We're calling them committees,
committees.
but they,
All
they
right.
sort of function as a subchapter, but
Correct.
a committee, a local committee for each region of the state. Right now our vision is to have it divided into kind of 6 different quadrants, which basically function as northwest, north central, southwest, and then northeast, north central, and southeast. But eventually that'll be subdivided even further. And like I said, we'd hope to get down to the county and even municipal level. But for the short term, those different regions will have their own committees that will coordinate regional meetups and events in the different parts of our state.
Awesome. So when it comes to things like community and to building, it's funny, this is a loaded term now, but we strive for diversity. Now, what does that mean? I don't mean different races and different genders and I mean you can kind of guess we both definitely affirm only 2 genders, but that different breeds and different kinds of men, yes, all under the banner of Wisconsin, but different ideals. Some of us aren't very public, but you'd be shocked at the amount of human capital that we pull within our sphere, and that's not a boast. I'm frankly very impressed with the amount of people we have. He won't be public about it, but Daniel's quite impressive as well. So looking for this, there's definitely a place. We talked about stuff like not being preppers or not being militia groups. If you're a guy who knows how to handle a firearm, that's something we look for. That's something we're interested in. But if you're a guy that consumes a lot of philosophy or consumes a lot of theology or makes music or makes videos, these are all things that we look for when we're trying to develop this fraternal org, and being able to connect people to each other. Like for me, I've always wanted to try to do something like this, but it wasn't until I met with these group of guys that I had the infrastructure to create such a podcast. There's various examples of this. One in particular is people within our group helping others get jobs. That's such a fundamental boon to the org. And so, kind of wrapping it up, Daniel, is there any last words in promotion of Sons of Wisconsin that you look to see?
Yeah, just I wanted to touch on that last point you made, is that we're not at all a white collar only organization. You know, we welcome and have members that are blue collar, right? But blue collar doesn't have to mean, you know, low class. Nor does white collar have to mean high class either. It's a real blessing to have men with a diversity of skills and talents in our organization, and we seek men from all different walks of life. They're trying to be exceptional in their vocation, whatever that may be, and we welcome that. As long as you're willing to put in the effort to be exceptional and to be a part of the brotherhood we're trying to build, please join us.
Yes, I concur. If you're someone, and I want to stress this, if you're someone who wants to give up on the church and do something else, please reach out to us. We feel the burn of the effeminate church. We can help you. If you're someone who's struggling in your mundane office job, we can do our best to help you there. Maybe not get you another job, but maybe spice up your life. If you're looking for something that's maybe not counter, but where you can speak your mind and not feel threatened, we can be that. Like Daniel said, we have some requirements. We are Christian. When we're not just Christian, we're proudly Christian. But we can be that group for y'all in Wisconsin. So please don't hesitate. You can reach out to us at our email, and we can definitely chat anytime. Daniel, thank you very much for joining me this evening, and I wish you all have a good night.